hi, Angie here. I'd like to talk about the beginning. Okay, the beginning of my son Alex. You know, that time when you bring the baby home from hospital and everything's just meant to be really amazing and really wonderful. Well, in our house it wasn't. Brought Alex home from hospital. He was born at 35 weeks. He was 5 weeks premature. He weighed £5 5 ounces. I spent 6 days in hospital with him, and then I brought this little baby, beautiful little boy, home. And basically, it went downhill. At 5 weeks, he was covered in spots from head to toe. They picked up a milk allergy. He started projectile vomiting. He could vomit for England, Alex could. He used to vomit everywhere. Hours of screaming, constipation. He was on a laxative at a week old. And it just went on and on and on and on. I believe he was hospitalised at least 3 times for a week each time. Alex was, in the end, Alex at about 15 months old was actually diagnosed with acid reflux disease as well as an atopic child. That was the words that they used, atopic child. By this point, and when I look back, because I did look back once Alex was diagnosed with autism, Alex had been given antibiotics every 6 weeks of his life for the first 2 years and 10 months. And the antibiotics only stopped when we emigrated to America. Alex was, in many ways, a very sick child. Huge temperatures permanently, in the hundreds. His spot here on his head, his fontanelle, I think it's what they call it, used to pulsate and used to dip in all the time permanently. He was a very sick little boy, and I lived at the doctor's with him, and there was I was living in Warwickshire at the time. There was very little support from the doctors. That's Alex's, like physical health. Let's talk about how he was as a child. I spent my life winding him. He couldn't bring up wind on his own. Up and down the stairs all night long like Florence Nightingale. I actually did call the Samaritans on at least 2 occasions that I can remember. And on the second occasion, the lady in the Samaritans said to me, "I am telling you, my dear, stranger things you remember. What is going on in your house is not normal, and it's not right. You need to get some help." It was a very hard time in those first 3 years. In the first 3 years, Alex, when Alex learnt to crawl, the first thing he did was bit me. He bit my whole body. He bit my arms, my legs, my knees. He bit everything. Oh, he was amazing in some ways. He was walking at 12 months old. He seemed to be extremely intelligent and always pushing boundaries. However, at one point, and it would have been about the 13-month-old mark, I felt that he was changing. Where he shared a toy the week before, the month before, he suddenly wasn't. Where he'd learnt to say, please and thank you, all of a sudden he was getting them confused. It was almost as if, I felt as if he was going backwards. And then it was really, really hard. He had a thing for our toilet system. He used to bang the toilet seat up and down, up, down, up, down, up, down, permanently. He made it a game to lock me. We had 2 dogs, and every time I went in the back garden to feed the dogs, Alex would lock the key and lock me out the house. And that got a lot worse. It got to a point where I had to wear a key around my neck. Because given the chance, Alex would lock me out. Very strange things. I'll give you an example. My grandma used to come every week, sometimes twice a week, and Alex never seemed to build a relationship with her. He would play with her ball. He was mad on anything that was round. That was another of his obsessions, round things. He played with her balls of wool, but he wouldn't actually, there was no connection between Nan and Alex. And that was very sad, because my Nan had a connection with all of her grandchildren. And I know that that was probably what made my Nan think perhaps Alex had autism. That didn't all come out till later. Basically, Alex lived at the doctor's and I lived there with him, and I begged the doctors to help me. I'll always remember Alex's, I believe it was again a 12, 13, 14 month check. A nurse came out to the house and she gave him a bag of toys, little figures, and she said, "Oh, that's strange, he doesn't seem to have much of an imagination." I never forgotten that statement, because later on in Alex's development, that nurse should have known. He should have been helped. I should have been helped. That is one of the most classic signs of autism, the fact that the child has no imagination. Alex could never entertain himself, ever. Alex was, the work that went into him was, you couldn't do anything. You couldn't cook a dinner, you couldn't iron a shirt, you couldn't do anything. He was all consuming and all demanding. And if he wasn't vomiting or, you know, throwing up or screaming with hives all over his body, the bathroom seat, we didn't know. We had a pine cladding bathroom, and what we didn't realise until we had mould growing out of the kitchen ceiling was that Alex had actually smashed a hole of the water system in the bathroom, and the water had been leaking down and into the kitchen for probably about 8 months, and it was a big job getting all that fixed. I think really what I'm trying to say, if you're watching this video and you're wondering, does my child is something wrong with my child? My advice to any mother is this: you know when something is wrong. However big or however small that something might be, you know. Go from your mother instincts. Go from the natural instincts that we were given that tell us that something isn't right. I went to the doctors and I asked, please help me with my child. Alex would have been about 19 months old. My doctor said to me, welcome to motherhood. I had twins. When I look back on the first 2 years and 10 months of my son's life in this country, in England, my country, my home, I'm quite horrified and mortified that I wasn't helped more. I wasn't taken more seriously. You know, when something's not right with a child within a family, everybody's out to blame everybody. You know, family are very strange. They, you know, oh, well, it's not my side of the family. Well, it's not my side of the family. It's your genes. No, it's your genes. Oh, please, my advice to anybody listening, if you're watching this video because you feel that your child, there may be something wrong, if your instincts are telling you that something is wrong, then I personally believe that 9 times out of 10 your instincts are right. Go with your instincts and fight the good fight, because at the end of the day, we have an amazing country here in England, but our resources are scarce. You know, they're very, very overloaded, and I'm afraid the simple fact is that if you want what is best for your child and the help that your child needs, then you have to be prepared to make your stand, and you have to be prepared to ruffle a few feathers in an assertive way, not an aggressive way, in an assertive way. I didn't do that. I couldn't do that. I didn't have the confidence to do that. Alex was my first child. I was 26 years old. I'd had a hell of a few years. I'd had 2 very bad miscarriages. He was my miracle baby. He came 5 weeks early. It was a horrendous pregnancy. I was very ill. And then I was given this child that was very sick. One way or another, he was very, very sick. very wonderful, very amazing, but quite a poorly boy. And when he was diagnosed and I look back on his medical records, I realised they'd given my son antibiotics every 6 weeks of his life for the first 2 years and 10 months. So don't be a me. Follow your instincts. Thank you. Bye.